Hi, Lynzi. Thank you for joining today's webinars. We're going to ask you the first question. Who are you and why you are CX obsessed?
Okay, hi David, nice to see you. My name's Lynzi. I am a head of digital marketing for a global financial services and professional services firm called Aon. I've worked at Aon, it feels like a lifetime, nine and a half years. But we're talking today because I think we have this shared passion of CX and getting CX right, and a shared disdain, I think, of when the CX isn't right, when things just don't work, when things aren't customer kind of focused, and the CX isn't done well. It can be so frustrating for users, and so I think there's this kind of middle ground of if you get it wrong, you're turning your customers off, but when you get it right, you can really engage those customers, turn them into loyal advocates. And so there is so much reliant on investing and in your CX.
What's CX for our audience? Maybe they never heard of that word before. So if we could give them a bit of the background, what's CX?
Sure. So CX, essentially your customer experience, it's essentially about understanding what the journey looks like for your customer from when they first find out about your brand to every single experience they have with that brand. And your CX, the work that you do with CX, is around improving every single touch point. So every part of the experience that one of your customers have with your brand, understanding what that experience is like for them and working on improving that and making that better.
Yeah, and we share the same passion about CX because last time we discussed about, MasterTAAG. It's all about creating a great customer experience for the customer within the restaurant with a menu, and drives me absolutely insane myself when you scan a QR code and you go to a PDF that you can't read on your mobile.
Yep. I think COVID has really sped up the trajectory of innovation. So some brands that may have kind of focused on improving certain areas of their digital experience, they've had to do so, particularly where brands, a lot of their experience has been an in-person piece. So for us, I work in a financial professional services firm. A lot of our the experience that our clients had with us was face-to-face. So within the marketing space, a lot of it was done in corporate hospitality and events, in-person events, so we could kind of build those relationships. And then it was all about having those face-to-face relationships. So we've had to very quickly try and recreate a lot of those experiences and relationship building experiences digitally. I think at first it was just jumping on and let's doing digital events. And I think very quickly everyone got really tired and fatigued of just jumping on another WebEx. So then it was taking that to another level. And I think that a lot of these providers that provide digital events experience have caught up really quickly and trying to recreate those in-person events experience, but trying to do that digitally. I personally think, I don't think anything's going to take the place of those in-person events and meeting people face to face, but the speed of innovation of that technology has really shown us that there is a lot more that we could have been doing in the digital event space. And I really feel now that you are really going to get a mix and blend of people who are desperate to get out and meet face to face, but there are still going to be people for their own personal reasons who are going to stay cautious and not want to get back out again, whether it's because they're being cautious or it just fits their lifestyle, that they like being at home, they don't want to do the commute anymore. So having those experiences tailored to a blended approach of people that want to be in person or want to experience something digitally is something that's going to be our new normal now.
Absolutely, and that's a good transition. The hospitality industry has been the most impacted by this pandemic, and you're a food lover like myself. So, now the new normal for restaurants, it's pretty much, the digital way, contactless payment, all that kind of world. And in your opinion, is that something that it's here to stay? Or is that, once the pandemic is over, we will go back to the old way? What's your view on this?
think a lot of the innovation will stay because it makes a life a lot easier. I think with a lot of restaurants having to create their restaurant experience and doing that kind of remotely, and that new way of thinking of that home for catering, a lot of the restaurants that near where I live have tried to recreate the dining experience, and that you can take out. So it wasn't always just a takeout in a box. It was recreating these kind of quite extraordinary dining experiences and thinking through everything that comes with an experience, and things like wine tasting as well. If you think about that's become this new online piece that might have existed before, but I don't think I knew about it, that remote piece. So, and if that continues to people still to like it and it's still driving revenue, it should definitely be something to stay. But it is very different where you're thinking of restaurants that provide a kind of deliver experience, but restaurants thinking more through how can they deliver more of the actual experience outside of the product they're delivering. That I've seen some really interesting pieces, some really interesting kind of plays in that space as well.
So it looks like there's things happening without even noticing it, that it's happening right now by creating almost new experiences. That's a great transition for, based on the research, 60% of the people prefer to spend money on an experience than just food. So I think we are maybe going to that direction of, well, food is important, obviously, but then creating everything around it, and especially with a staycation and not being able to travel anymore. So we have to find maybe some new ways to excite ourselves in restaurants and bars and hotels, and that's maybe all down to CX. Would you agree?
Well, I think that the restaurant and hospitality industry, it's always about CX. You know, why you don't go stay in a hotel because it's a bed and somewhere to sleep. You've got a bed at home. You go because of everything else, the way it makes you feel. You know, it feels special, and the decor and the smell and the service. So that, I guess, that is the kind of the original kind of CX. You don't go to a restaurant because you're necessarily hungry. You could make yourself a sandwich at home. You go because the way the food's presented, the way the waiters are, the way the table's laid out. So that CX and making experiences special. So I think that's where lots of other industries could probably learn from the restaurant and leisure industry, that they, for a long time, they've looked at every single touch point and looked at how each of those can be a bit more special. So whether it's a trip to the bathroom, or whether it's where you put your coat, so it's understanding all those touch points. And the restaurants, or where people or the leisure experiences will people pay more, is where every single touch point is just a little bit more special. Yeah, I think for the leisure industry particularly is one that they can really utilize that user-generated content, and facilitating that user-generated content is quite interesting often, where it's really simple to do, but brands that are investing in that experience by having beautiful interiors and presenting their food very beautifully. And people they love taking pictures of themselves in beautiful restaurants, and they love taking pictures of their food, but just facilitating that so that becomes your own user-generated content, I think, is the quickest wins. And lots of more kind of mature brands have done that quite well in facilitating, and it's as simple as, you know, tag yourself here or use this hashtag to generate that free content essentially for their own social media feed.
Pre-COVID, post-COVID, have you seen, as a marketer this time, really big differences in terms of how we use those social channels?
Yes, definitely. I mean, even not as a marketer and just a person that uses social media, just seeing, I have probably in the last few months become an avid TikTok fan. And I think at first I was into, I must have a look at it because, you know, I need to know what's going on in this space. But it's a hugely addictive and entertaining app. And what I have been interested in is seeing how brands are using the app, because it is different from anything else we've had before. And I think some brands have done some really clever work on it. And initially I think, well, it's just for 16-year-olds. And now that the demographic is widening on that app, we are seeing more and more brands who are targeting a wider demographic start to do their own storytelling. Some really clever, beautifully told stories on TikTok as well. And you've got the other brands that are emulating it. So the other channels, so Instagram Reels and even LinkedIn Stories as well, now having that kind of really snappy, leaning towards more video content style channel, and it's going across all the different social media channels. I think for some of the more B2B brands, even I've seen some fantastic campaigns on TikTok from LinkedIn have started doing a really good campaign on there around workplace, and I think I've seen some of the professional services brand, I can't remember if it's a PwC or another one of those, who are doing a real big employer branding on there as well. So I think how brands are thinking around how they use the channels that the traditionally would have thought, well, that's more the B2C space. We've got to think it's not B2B or B2C, it's B2P, it's B2 people. You've got to think where are your people, whether it's the people whoever you're trying to influence, whether it's your current colleagues, new colleagues, or clients or media, that you just think where are people and how do we talk to them and how do we tell really clever stories.
And as a B2B, maybe for restaurants and hotels, do you think they should more embrace that new technology in front of them, which is free, right? In order to use and to interact with prospect? I mean, in your opinion, both like, the marketer expert and as a person, as a savvy TikTok user, what's your view? Let's say you see a TikTok about a restaurant. Is that something that would motivate you to visit that place? Or is that more just picture of the food on Instagram? I mean, what's your, as a user and then as a marketer, what those two channels could be really useful?
I think for the leisurewear industry, it's a fantastic tool because it is around the full experience, and I think a tool like TikTok or any of those visual mediums is a great way to be promoting your brand and do your storytelling. And now that you can almost plan your full customer journey just on social channels at the moment, so getting people to kind of engage with your brand, like your brand, and if you can plan that journey, that if you can see they've engaged with your brand, driving them to do a booking online. There's so much that you can plan just through these channels if you know how to use them properly. And again, going back to the user generated content piece, that if you can get a few advocates, or not, I'd say influencers, but it's not even influencers, it's your customers, to encourage them to be sharing content on the channels and then reutilizing that content. There's so much opportunity there.
Is there a difference between physical CX and digital CX, in your opinion?
Well, the tools that you use are different, but I think the thinking isn't really. It's just having a really clear understanding of what your customer journey looks like and working out what the most influential touch points, and then going through each of those touch points and looking at how you can enhance it. So that kind of very basic theory of it is ultimately the same.
So for example, you go to a restaurant, and that's a story we shared offline, that you just open a menu on a PDF. Well, what's your first reaction when you see that, when you try to read that menu?
If I'm on a digital device, and it's not just in the restaurants, but if I'm on a digital device and I'm going through a beautiful web experience and it's all designed for my kind of smallish phone, whether it's a white paper or a menu, and then I click to read, and it's a PDF, essentially a document that is designed for printing, it drives me nuts. I am not going to print. I don't print anything. I want to read it on my device. So if I'm going to read something on my device, I want it designed for my device. I would caveat that very much, though, that some people do like to print stuff. So I've been trying to a lot more with a lot of white papers and insights that I work on, I had a big thing of let's just have digital experiences, but then did actually forget about, that was kind of something that I oversaw slightly, that did forget about that some people do like to download and print something. So I think have the option there, but have digital experience first. And if someone wants to print something off, give them that option too. But PDFs are for printing, not for digital experience.
I think we both agree on that.
Yeah. I don't think social media is going to fix everything. I think it needs to be used within your portfolio of channels and how you talk to people. Again, going back to the point that you need to provide the experience on the channels where your customers are, and particularly within the restaurant industry, you're going to have all sorts of different demographics, age ranges, users of different social media channels. But then it's maybe that you mix social media channels with some sort of old mediums like direct mail. I've started getting more direct mails from brands recently, and I think if that's done well, that can work. And it's about understanding the mix that works, so testing and learning every channel, not just putting all your eggs into one basket with one channel.
Yeah, do you think email is oversaturated now that we have to go maybe to offline?
Email, I think it needs to be done really well to work. So highly personalized, highly tailored. So really, to make email work is that you have to make your data work for you. Yes, email is hugely overused. I think everyone will wake up most mornings and I will just probably click on about 50 different emails, instantly delete them. But if I know one brand that I interact with does provide me highly tailored content on content that I'm interested in, I will open it. But I think we have to be a lot more thoughtful on how we're using email these days.
With staycation as a guideline for this summer, do you think this is a great opportunity for local resorts, hotels, and restaurants to gain new customers?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to promote that to people in the UK. And I have someone in the UK. I go away every summer. I'm actually thinking, there are lots of places in the UK where I haven't explored. I have actually got some inspiration from social media channels, and I've actually started looking at UK travel hashtags and following those and seeing these beautiful places. I've seen some fantastic campaigns just from single kind of B&B places that are working with local restaurants and local events and promoting that. So I think it's a really good way to have local collaboration between brands on social media. So this kind of someone that I know locally has a few B&Bs, and they were like promoting the local restaurants to them, and I've seen restaurants and promoting local events. So I think that's a real big opportunity to have this kind of community promotion of locations and to really get it right and do it well and to get that repeat business. I think customers or businesses are really going to have to really double down on their customer experience, because it's a great opportunity to have that growth for this year and future years.
This time as a user, as a customer, what's your view on QR code and the facility to access whatever they offer as information?
It is interesting, hasn't it, actually? COVID has resurrected the QR code from the dead, definitely. And lots of people I guess the majority of the population wouldn't have known how to use a QR code and how simple it is that you just take a photo. So now we all know how to use it. It's a great opportunity, and you can create all sorts of clever experiences if you think it through very well. So I've seen some brands where a restaurant that I went into, I think in Brighton, where there was QR codes around the building that if you scanned the QR code, it had a little video coming up telling you the history of that piece of art or that part of the building. So I thought that was a really clever use of QR codes. So I think they've definitely got somewhere to stay. Not many people don't have a smartphone that can just take a picture of them. So I think it's a great kind of opportunity to brands to really kind of use QR codes as a part of their customer experience.
Yeah, and as you say, it's been there for a while. I mean, in Asia, they use QR code everywhere. But Europe and North America, they were like more into, you know, hesitant way of using that. And as you said, you know, COVID just revamp that technology from nowhere.
Yeah, I think it's good as well that it's really useful for traditional kind of print media, because it's driving print. It's got your offline experience very quickly online, whereas and then it's a lot easier to kind of articulate and get a visibility of your ROI from your print media if you are immediately driving people into your digital experience. Yeah, sure. So I think the most powerful thing hospitality industry can do is facilitate user-generated content. So what that means really is everywhere that you think someone may want to do a selfie or take a picture in your restaurant, give them a hashtag, give them an @code, give them your kind of your handles, your social media handles, and all your handles as well, because people will post things on TikTok and they may post it on Instagram, and then making sure you're using social listening tools to be able to pick up that every time someone is posting something about your brand, using the social listening tools, so then you can scrape that content and use that in your own content strategy. So easy, such a quick win for the leisure industry. I think it's just the first thing that all businesses should be doing.
Do you have any tools for social listening that you could advise?
Yeah, I use Hootsuite. I love Hootsuite. I mean, lots of that, depending on the size of your organization, lots of the channels will have it built in as part of the app. So if you're in Instagram and someone tags you, you will get that, and you can follow the hashtags. But for larger scale operations, I would recommend Hootsuite.
Okay, thank you. So next time I'm going to see you, it will be on TikTok.
Yes. Love TikTok.
Well, Lynzi, thank you so much for participating to this webinar today. I hope you know, our audience will understand much better now what CX and what is so important post-COVID. And yeah, speak to you soon. Thank you.
Brilliant. Nice to see you, David.